Hello, everybody, and this is the sort of last round before the last panel of the conference. And right now, I'm so thrilled to introduce Paul Hiller. He's the marketing manager for ICML, and he'll be discussing making sense of ICML 55.1 standards. So here we go, Paul.
Hello, and welcome to my office. I am Paul Hiller, the marketing manager at ICML, the International Council for Machinery Lubrication. And I thank you for joining me today at the Lubrication and Reliability Virtual Summit 2021. Our topic for this session is, of course, the ICML 55 standard, specifically part 1 of that standard, ICML 55.1, and why it exists at all and how to use it to its fullest potential. So maybe you've already got part 1, or maybe you're just thinking about it. Maybe you've already thumbed your way through it and don't know exactly what to do with all that detail in there. So you've been putting it off for a while so that you could just focus on those random improvements, those things everyone likes to call low-hanging fruit. Well, blow off the dust, because when we're done here, you should feel more comfortable about the standard and have a better idea of how to use it to start pursuing your broader lubrication objectives in an organized, orderly fashion. So what we're really talking about here is industrial asset management, not a new topic, been around for a long time, where successful programs balance the level of effort applied to machinery maintenance with the expected future benefit of that maintenance. And in 2019, a standardized process finally became available that would define the appropriate implementation strategy specifically for lubricated equipment, and that is the ICML 55.1 standard. But of course, nothing is worse than buying something and not knowing exactly how to use it, unless maybe you buy something and you think you know how to use whatever you just bought, and then you wind up doing it all wrong and getting frustrated. I could share every page in the book right here. I could read every detailed page, show you everything, and you get all excited and you'd be taking screenshots thinking, wow, I'm getting it all for free. But this action on my part alone wouldn't really help you glean what would be relevant to your respective situation. So believe it or not, the ICML 55.1 standard does come with instructions. So this short presentation will help you understand those instructions and place the ICML 55.1 in proper context as you consider plans for your own lubricated asset management. So how does this work? Well, we'll be looking over some questions such as, what is ICML 55.1 and what is it not? What's in it? Why use it at all? I mean, couldn't you just Google for all this stuff, right? And how should I actually apply what's in the standard once I decide to use it? You also may be asking, why does a certification body like ICML even get into the standards business? So let's take a quick look at who is ICML. ICML, of course, is a vendor-neutral, not-for-profit organization founded in, 20 years ago to serve global industry as the world-class authority on machinery lubrication. But we're more than just certifications. Although that's our most well-known activity, we do support individuals and organizations through several programs that strengthen machinery lubrication and oil analysis as technical fields of endeavor. So we are a certification body, an awards body, a membership body, and a standards body. So all this information is on our website. I won't go through it here, but you can find information on all our certifications and our new badge program, as well as the awards, which are the Augustus H. Gill Award for Oil Analysis Excellence and the John R. Battle Award for Lubrication Excellence. Those are awarded to facilities with successful programs. They're not awarded to individual people. We, of course, offer membership packages for individuals and corporations. But the question here is about standards. The ICML 55.1 standard does support our mission because it helps any company with a large base of machinery, assets, whether they're mobile assets or fixed assets. It helps the company to know that they're doing all they could possibly be doing to develop and or improve a lubricated asset management program. And this, of course, helps out our certified practitioners because, hey, more opportunities for them, right? So here's how it all came about. ICML 55 was basically born out of necessity. In 2014, the International Organization for Standardization, the ISO, introduced ISO 55000 Asset Management Standard, which comprised 3 documents to address the consistent application of industrial asset maintenance on assets of any kind, intangible assets, physical, financial, and more. So these documents were quite general in nature, but the ICML folks at the time looked them over and recognizing they were still broad in scope, but also recognizing that the ISO documents contained important principles that could be used to develop targeted application of their requirements. So in response, they put together a team from all around the world and developed a lubrication standard patterned on the ISO 55000. The first part of the standard is ICML 55.1, requirements for the optimized lubrication of mechanical physical assets. With contributions from 45 experts all over the world, 55.1 lays out a comprehensive tactical framework for organizations to establish, implement, maintain, and improve consistent lubrication management systems and activities while working toward their ISO 55000 certification. Or not. They don't have to be working toward that ISO certification, but this certainly would help them get there. So 55.1 is an enabling standard that serves kind of like the missing link between ISO 55000 and your plant's lubrication plan. It replicates the structure of ISO 55001, but focuses the verbiage to what will be practically necessary for lubricated assets. Well, so at this point, maybe you're asking a few questions like, so what's in it? And is this really meant for do-it-yourselfers, DIY? Why use it at all? Couldn't I just Google for all this? That's the second time I've mentioned Google. And if I decide to proceed with the ICML 55.1 standard, what's next? And these are all important questions because you want return on investment for your purchase, right? So real quick, ICML 55.1, like I said, patterned after the ISO structure, it's 3 documents. 55.1 is part 1, the requirements document. 55.2 is the guideline document, and 55.3 is going to be the auditor's manual to spell out how an auditor is going to become competent to go out and confirm compliance with the ICML 55. So as the requirements document, 55.1 spells everything out of what is necessary for organizations to establish, implement, and maintain and improve the consistent management of lubricated mechanical assets. Like I said, it's co-authored by a team of 45 experts from all over the world, but most importantly, it defines 12 interrelated areas of a successful, sustainable program. Now, it's meant to be used in conjunction with 55.2, the guideline document, but we didn't need to publish them together. That's why 55.1 was published in 2019, because as you'll see here in the next few slides, there's a lot of preparation work that goes into getting everything up to speed at your facility and developing the plan. And then 55.2 will help explain how to implement the plan once it's in place. So it's not really a list of actions to take, but it is a critical framework for decision making. And it's going to set you up for success when it comes time to implement. So what is 55.1 not? Well, like I said, it's not really an isolated solution. It can partially function that way, but it is really intended eventually to be side by side with the guideline document, ICML 55.2. And of course, it's still an enabling standard, so it's meant to be used as an enabler for ISO pursuits. But as it's not meant to replace or compete with ISO documents. Like I said, it's not a how-to manual. It really defines what to do, but 55.2 is the one that really gets more into how to implement. It's not a substitute for the hiring or certified practitioners. What that means is you're still going to need trained, competent, experienced, knowledgeable, certified people to proceed with this. You can't just hand the 55.1 standard to anybody at your shop and say, here, go forth and do this. You're still going to prefer to have certified people to pull this off. It's not a mind reader. What that means is that ICML 55.1 is a framework. You still have to do the work to assess your circumstances and identify your priorities and limitations while setting your business goals, whether or not it's part of a larger organizational asset management plan. So that's what you bring to the table, you and your whole team. The book itself doesn't know what your situation is, so it can't tell you exactly what to do. This means, of course, that ICML 55.1 is not a haphazard list of best practices. It is structured with purpose to move you toward successful implementation. So what were those 12 areas I mentioned? Here they are, the meatiest part of the structure. When look at all these areas, let's scroll through in a little more detail. Attributes of the 12 areas. So let's scroll through these. We don't have time to read through all the topics within the 12 areas. But at a high level, we're pretty much looking at Area 1, skills, that deals with personnel, training, and certifications. Area 2, machine, design, accessibility, and use of monitoring technology. Area 3, lubricant design and selection. Area 4, lubrication schedules and maintenance. Area 5, support facilities and tools. That includes storage like lube rooms and various other materials. Number 6, machine and lubricant inspection. Okay, that's monitoring and access. Number 7, lubricant analysis, kind of self-explanatory. Troubleshooting and root cause analysis procedures. Number 9, waste management, waste handling. Number 10, energy conservation. Number 11, reclamation and decontamination. So we're talking about end of life cycle kind of stuff there. And number 12 is the management of the lube program itself. So there is a lot of information and detail in this standard. So a natural question is, can't I just Google for all this myself and not buy or follow the ICML 55.1 standard? Well, maybe yes, maybe no. Yes, you can, maybe, but you don't have to. We just happen to think that retracing all these steps would not necessarily be the best way to spend your time and money, right? Even though you can trust everything you read on the internet, right? I mean, really, you can trust everything you read on the internet, right? Well, ICML is here to support you. So let yourself stand on the shoulders of giants now. The giants are your colleagues from around the world who put all this together for you. They've done all the work for you. No need to reinvent the wheel. No need to do it alone. But at the same time, no, you really can't just Google all this after all, because the ICML 55.1 is more than just a collection of topics to be addressed. It's already structured to mimic the ISO 55001 as a decision-making tool. So it's already greater than the sum of any parts that you could maybe find on the internet. Think about it. If you don't know exactly where to start and you don't know where to end, then how would you ever know that you've covered everything you need to be covering? At least with the ICML 55.1, you've got starting and ending parameters that you can work with, and it's structured for that comprehensive assessment and decision-making that leads to successful implementation. So I don't know about you, but I keep DIY books at home from the Handyman magazine because I like to think I can do stuff. But it's nice to know that the information in those books has already been vetted by editors and experts who know way more than I do. In fact, if I decided just to go Googling for information instead, I'd still wind up gravitating toward websites that collect and review and present pros and cons of different solutions, because I tend to trust those sites more, even if the information was curated from other sources. So eventually, I'd wind up at the Handyman magazine website anyway. Well, this is quite similar. If you decided to go out and Google for what you think is going to be covered in this book, then you're still going to wind up finding this standard on the ICML's website to be exactly what you're looking for. So I tell you what, in actual practice, you never know who's going to maybe benefit from this. The book was written for asset planners and asset practitioners at asset-rich businesses. Most everything's covered. Our website has a list of some of the fluids that are not covered, but I tell you what, I've talked to certified MLA practitioners at conferences. I really enjoy talking to people at conferences, see what they're doing. And this one gentleman was telling me he was tasked with developing complete lubrication and oil analysis management programs from scratch. He was an MLA2. I mean, talk about pushing the edge of the certification envelope, because the MLA2 certification wasn't necessarily designed for that. He was quite capable, but that's really what the MLE certification is for, the Machinery Lubrication Engineer, which was introduced in 2019. This standard, not to mention the MLE, would have been very helpful to him at the time had it been available. And that's because with the comprehensive instructions and the 12 areas defined in there, it really helps certified practitioners know that they are doing all they could possibly be doing to build or improve their program. So if you decide to use the standard, and you should, what's next? Well, that question is just kind of open-ended and leads to more questions. How do I define success? What are my goals? What are good and best practices? How is the standard meant to be applied? Why is it written the way it's written? Why is it structured the way it's structured? And in real life, can I get to best possible? Well, remember I said there are instructions in the standard that explain the approach that you got to take to address all these areas properly in order to achieve success. And that's all at the front part of the book. So keep in mind, though, that once ICML 55 has been fully implemented, your picture of world-class success is most likely going to be different from every other plant's picture of success because your plant is unique. So let's take a quick look at the process. You're going to start out with an initial self-assessment, figure out what you're doing, and decide what is good at your plant right now. And you're going to do this for each area, by the way. And then you're going to imagine, what if money was no object and we had everything we need and all the people and all the training and everything? What's the ideal dream program that we could be running here? And then you scale back, you consider reality and priorities and scarcity of resources and all that unique to your situation. And that way you establish what's going to be called best possible. And best possible is what's going to represent success at your plant, because obviously you're going to be careful that you do not exceed what is sustainable while you're defining what is successful. But also remember, these terms are subjective. So it's possible that you and your manager and your manager's boss and that person's boss all have different ideas of what's good, what's dream, what's best. So you guys got to hammer all that out. Like I was saying, this ICML 55.1 standard is not a mind reader. You guys have to work all that out while you're developing your plans and everybody get on the same page with it. So let's take a look again. The plan here, every area gets its own plan, right? It's like a bunch of micro plans. They're all part of one big plan. So the 55.1 standard enables you to define what good looks like and what best possible can look like in each area. And then each area's plan requires you to document specific tasks and actions, specific designation of responsibilities and authorities, to define the skill levels of personnel and the means and timescales for implementation. And of course, every plan's it's really got to perform a balancing act of cost, risk, and performance. That kind of goes without saying, and that's mentioned on page 3 of the standard, where it talks about, in the instructions part of the book, it talks about all that balancing act and how everything's got to be handled in conjunction with the phases of a system life cycle, the acquisition of components, their use, their maintenance, and then the eventual disposal or renewal. So if you've ever gone through the application process for our GIL or Battle Awards, then you already understand that the application questions require you to collect and organize all your program information before you fill out and submit the application, right? Because the application submission would be meaningless without all that prep work that forces you to organize and present your data in a persuasive manner. So developing each area's lubrication management plan here is kind of like that. It requires your assessment and goal setting and prioritization before you ever start implementation. That's what plan means in the Plan, Do, Check, Act, which is on the next slide. Area 12. Remember I mentioned Area 12 requires you to apply some management to your lube program, and it's continuous improvement. It's key here. This is an integral component of the structure or the pattern I keep talking about. In alignment with ISO 55001, this standard instructs you to establish, implement, and maintain a continuous improvement system in each of the 12 areas. Like the ISO, we employ Plan, Do, Check, Act here. So this helps guide you from what is good to what is best possible in each of the 12 areas. So essentially in each area, you'd be like in the book and you'd be going, okay, section 4, area 4, let's start with high-level concepts. What are our organizational objectives? And from that, what are the lubricated asset management objectives that we're going to do that support those organizational objectives? And then you apply the ICML 55.1 process to develop the plan. And then you implement the plan with your enablers. And then you assess the plan's performance on a regular basis. You evaluate against the organizational objectives, tweak or adjust as necessary, repeat. Each area, of course, is vulnerable to failure if you don't have a continuous improvement process in place to make them not vulnerable. That's what sustainability is all about. So let's take a quick look at some key takeaways. Remember, ICML 55, there's no one size fits all. It is not a dictatorial instruction manual. It is purposefully structured for you to apply a process to develop a bespoke plan for your facility. Preparation. As a map, you got to know first where you want to go before you can fully apply the process. So defining success in all 12 areas is key here. Sustainability requires many things: technical expertise, managerial buy-in, etc. But continuous improvement is vital, more important than solid and consistent activity across the board. And a standardized process eliminates guesswork. The ICML 55.1 defines parameters from start to finish. We believe that the standard's comprehensive and structured framework combine to offer you exactly the support you need to finally stop picking random low-hanging fruit and start pursuing your objectives in an organized, orderly fashion. Because as a standard, it gets everyone on the same page so that you can achieve best possible lubricated asset management that is world-class for your operation. So thank you again. I hope this presentation has helped you see and make sense of the valuable practical structure of the ICML 55.1 requirements standard. And I hope that you're inspired to use the standard fully to organize your lubrication program and establish and reach the best possible goals for your asset-rich facility. For ICML, I'm Paul Hiller, and remember, get certified, stay certified. Good day.
That was awesome, Paul. Thank you so much for that. And I need to get a pair of those sunglasses.
That was the best part right there.
Absolutely. So we have a few questions from the crowd, right? So William's asking, what's the projected date of point 2 and point 3?
Yeah, 55.2 is scheduled to be released sometime in 2022. The last I heard was springtime, but it may move. I do know it's in the process of being written.
Excellent. Okay.
I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver here. That's pretty much all I know.
Understand. I know how much hard work is put into this, right? Just from our conversations about some of the other certifications that you do. But this standard is just 55.1 was a long time coming, so we can appreciate the guesstimate on the timing.
Yeah, it's an expansion of each of the 12 areas, a major expansion, building on those with the guidelines, and it still involves a team of experts writing it. So even once the initial content is written, book publishing and editing and all that it's going to have to get vetted. So yeah. 2022 is hopeful.
Understand. Watch this space. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
And we have another question. So what type of certification can a consultant have to implement 55.1?
55.1, as I mentioned during the presentation, was developed alongside the MLE, the Machinery Lubrication Engineer Certification. Now, that doesn't mean that somebody has to be or hold the MLE credential in order to successfully implement the requirements outlined in 55.1. It just means that an MLE is probably best suited for that kind of a project. But like I mentioned in there, anybody who is certified would have a good handle on much of the areas and can advance in training and additional certifications as they go, because the 55.1 likely covers some areas that an MLA wouldn't necessarily be, familiar with. But if there's a team approach to it, somebody on the team, can fill in there. So there's no specific requirement. But MLE is the one that was designed with the ICML 55.1 in mind. So that might be the best. But that's just me. That's my opinion.
No, that definitely makes sense.
Mhm.
And we have some fans here. Kevin saying, awesome presentation. He'd probably like the sunglasses also, no doubt.
Oh, well, of course.
And Danny's saying, once 55.2 comes out, that makes 55.1 that much more.
I agree. And Danny was an early purchaser of the book and is one of our MLEs. So he's well versed in the book. He's been complimentary of it in the past, and I don't think I'm revealing any secrets for to mention that. But he's absolutely right. The set is incomplete until 55.2 comes out. As I'd mentioned in the presentation, however, 55.1 lays so much groundwork that can be pursued, and 55.2, and anybody then can proceed with implementation. It's just that without 55.2 guidelines for it, that structure gets lost at implementation time. So we understand the connection between 55.1 and 55.2. Believe me, we'd like to get that book out in the market.
Yeah, no doubt. And so Wolfcheck, big thumbs up for you, Paul, right? So they've already implemented theirs. And they're looking forward to the next ones coming out. And we have Mark, I think, of similar comment. I put our program together before getting certified at MLT1. Great insights to making the program better. Yeah. Okay.
Good on you for putting a program together before getting certified. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
But being certified now, you may have a new perspective. Yeah.
Fantastic. So we're 1 minute to go, Paul. Any last words, thoughts to leave us with?
Despite rumors, ICML 55.2 will not be a scratch and sniff book.
Darn it. Okay.
That would put it way off into like 2025 to get that, squared away. So we're not going to take the time for that.
No, there's no oil testing on smell then, odor. Right?
But I would like to mention that we are still offering our 20th anniversary discount on the ICML 55.1 standard right now, which is probably going to continue on to the end of the year because we're still celebrating our 20th anniversary of operation. So that means that the book, instead of being 175, is 155. It's spelled out on our website.
Excellent. I put the link to the website in the
Okay, great.
chat. So if anybody needs to get a hold of it, please get it there. You'll have access to the chat even when this closes, which is now. Paul, thank you so much for joining us, sharing this, clarifying so much of 55.1, and then what it will look like down the road in 2020, whatever, for 4.2.3.
Well, my pleasure. Thanks for having me, and I'm always available.
All right. Thanks, Paul. Yeah.
Right.
So get with Paul. He's got a speaker profile. He's got a sponsor, ICMLs or a silver sponsor. So thank you for that. And they've got a video room too. So check out Paul. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye.